I will teach you how to kill.
He is an elite soldier.
The physical part will be easy.
Elusive and dangerous.
The difficult part is learning how to turn it off.
His battle stress has become part of his personality. It's impossible to reverse.
Now, the only man who can stop him is the one who trained him.
You're gonna have to come inside.
Roll up!
C-Mark.
Action!
One man is in a race against time to prevent a trained killer from striking again in The Hunted, starring Oscar winners Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro, and directed by William Friedkin.
The Hunted is an action-adventure film. It is a chase.
The script, I think it's very entertaining and certainly original.
It's an action picture, but it's got a psychological aspect to it, which is interesting, I think.
You need all that equipment to kill a deer?
The story opens with the mysterious killing of two hunters.
The two men were killed with a hatchet in a ritualistic fashion.
I want to contain this area and establish a perimeter.
To help solve the case, the FBI calls out of retirement renowned tracker L.T. Bonham.
We're coming up with precious little. And when Bonham arrives, he starts seeing things that are practically invisible to the normal eye.
This is him.
Who?
The guy who did it. He wore a size 10 shoe with no tread, almost like a slipper, kind of like this one.
In creating the character of Bonham, director Friedkin drew inspiration from real-life tracking expert Tom Brown.
Well, we got an opossum here. Most of these are cats. We got a beautiful mouse right here.
I met Tom Brown 10 years ago, and I got interested in what he does. For example, he can come into a forest and tell you how many people have been there in the last 6-7 hours, whether they were male or female, what was the nature of their emotional state by the way they were standing. Now, show me how he would pick up something here.
I learned my skills through an old Native American named Stalking Wolf. When I was 7, I met him, and he was 83. And I learned everything from him. And when he finally passed away, I began to wander North and South America, tracking for the police or the FBI.
All right, come around to the right. Tom has all these tremendous skills, and so I always thought this guy would be a fascinating subject for a film.
As LT searches for evidence, he discovers clues about the murder weapon that lead him to believe he knows the killer.
Now, it seems unlikely that one man with a hatchet could possibly...
He didn't use a hatchet, he used a knife with a serrated edge on one side and a fillet blade on the other. His name is Aaron Hallam, Sergeant First Class.
What's your relationship to Hallam?
I trained him. Trained him to survive. I trained him to kill.
Aaron Hallam is a former student, and a good student, who has somehow gone wrong, somehow gone astray.
Trained as a special ops assassin, Hallam was sent on a life-changing mission to Kosovo.
I felt that we needed to show what would happen to Hallam if he was thrust in a situation that resembled Dante's Inferno.
There's a group of Serbian special forces that are going around butchering people. And to stop the killing, Benicio is sent to assassinate the Serbian leader.
For Del Toro, performing in the middle of the massive siege was unlike anything he had done in the past.
The action stuff, it was not easy to do.
You gotta see these guys here.
I worked with Billy and talked about I should do this or that, but it was very difficult.
Let's see Benny go across the frame in silhouette and then take the whole thing up.
But, you know, he's done this kind of thing before many a time, so you have to trust him.
Mark, action!
There were lots of explosions. And these things were so huge, I mean, you could just feel the heat searing your skin.
The actual, act of killing, I think, is a horrible thing. So the way I looked at it was what drives him over the edge It's the horror of war.
While searching for Hallam, LT finds himself face to face with the man he trained to kill.
Move up.
With Hallam in custody, LT is racked with guilt.
He can kill anybody without regret.
How'd you feel about that?
I don't know. I never had to kill anybody myself. I just taught people how.
To portray the complexities of L.T. Bonham, director Friedkin's first and only choice was Tommy Lee Jones.
I think Tommy Lee is one of the most brilliant actors ever. I think he's on a list with Spencer Tracy and Robert Mitchum and Steve McQueen, people who know how to use the camera. Tommy Lee has that. He does what a great film actor does. He brings a large part of his own inner nature to each frame of the film, and I love working with him for that reason.
He just has this really nice, natural quality. I always look at him like sort of like this lion who's just waiting to, you know, come out, you know, just underneath this really calm surface.
I think he's one of the best actors out there. We had a table reading, and I looked at some of his lines, and I said, boy, I don't know how I could do those lines.
Question you for a second, quickly.
I would sit down with Billy and go like, I don't know how to say this, you know, and make myself crazy. But Tommy Lee, he came in, he just read them, and it was like, they were all believable.
What do you know about the victims?
As far as we know, just a couple of businessmen from Medford.
From the beginning of the case, LT has doubts as to the innocence of Hallam's victims.
You see the scopes that we're using? They weren't hunters, LT. They were sweepers.
I think that Hallam feels that he's been set up, that he's just reacting in self-defense.
My character says, hey, these guys are coming after me.
We're here to take possession of your prisoner.
But we don't explain to the audience exactly, you know, who's right or who's wrong. So it's kind of kept in the dark in a way.
The character of Hallam required an actor who could convey a combination of intensity and mystery.
Benicio just has an incredible magnetism on film. And that's what this takes, because most of this film is not told in dialogue. It's told in images, and it's not only what's written on the actor's face, but what's written in the actor's soul. And there's no way to write that. That just comes out of the personality you cast.
Benny's a good kid and a very fine young actor. And it's a real pleasure to work with the best people, and he's certainly one of them.
He's unpredictable, and I love that, you know, somebody who's, you don't know what they're gonna do. And it heightens the tension in his film.
Hello, Irene.
Aaron.
After Hallam makes a daring escape, he goes to see his former girlfriend and her daughter.
Aaron, you're back!
Hey, Loretta.
I sat down with Billy, and we just talked about how it was important that the character was not just one-dimensional.
Can I visit with Aaron some more?
You can visit with him later. Go do your homework. Don't think you're just gonna step right back into our lives, Aaron.
That scene was very moving. He had something with this little girl and her mom, and I think that if other circumstances would have happened, it would have been a different story.
You're looking for a man named Aaron Hallam? Have you seen him?
With LT in hot pursuit, Hallam makes his escape through the streets of Portland. Known for his incredible car chases in previous films, director Friedkin was at first reluctant to stage another.
Billy felt with French Connection, it was a car versus an L train. And with To Live and Die in L.A., it was a car going up the wrong way on a crowded freeway. And he said, I don't know what the gimmick is here. You know, I mean, what would make this different?
What I'm thinking is going around. The hardest thing to pull off in a movie is the chase scene. because the chase is pure cinema. It cannot be reproduced on a stage or in a book. You have to see it on film. But it's very hard to think one up that has not been done before. This camera over here is...
So Billy thought about it. And after a couple of weeks, he said, I got a car chase idea. And I'm like, oh, great. And he told me that he was going to do gridlock. A guy getting caught in gridlock and then just blasting his way out.
I thought that the car chase was terrific. I thought it was like unique. It's another term. It's different from what he's done before.
LT's pursuit of Hallam takes them from the city into the wilderness, where their survival skills are put to the test.
You hear the old saying, survival of the fittest. That's very true, except when it comes to humans. Because with humans, fitness also means knowledge. So the more knowledge you have, the easier it is back here in the bush.
And action.
To prepare the actors for their struggles against nature, the filmmakers again turned to expert Tom Brown.
I took the actors through a short course on what I normally teach. And that's that you can go into the woods with nothing and survive. You can make your own tools, build a fire without matches, find your own medicinal plants. Everything you could possibly need is found right here.
That's beautiful.
The filmmakers spent several weeks shooting in wilderness locations around the Pacific Northwest. They faced cold temperatures and driving rainstorms on a daily basis. Unforeseen weather conditions forced Friedkin to change the location of a key scene.
Originally, we were going to shoot this scene in Portland at an old abandoned lumber mill. But by the time we got to it, the lumber mill was buried under 20 feet of water from a huge rainstorm. So we had to scramble to find another location. So we found this dam in Port Angeles, Washington. And the engineers who operate the dam, they have the capability to turn on the flow so that it becomes a huge, gigantic waterfall.
Here we go.
It was in this hostile environment that Friedkin would stage a pivotal battle between Hallam and LT.
I think it was January or February, so it was really cold and wet. And just to get down there was like grueling.
To prepare for shooting this sequence, the actors trained in a special style of knife fighting.
The discipline in which they're rather thoroughly schooled is called Sayak Kali. And under this discipline, fight with a knife is designed usually to last 5 or 10 seconds at the most. By then, someone is pretty well chopped up and unable to go on.
It was invented hundreds of years ago in the Philippines, and it's close-quarter knife fighting, Wolverine style, the way a Wolverine will jump right onto another animal's body and fight right in their face.
1, 2.
To authentically portray this deadly form of combat, the filmmakers enlisted the aid of highly trained experts.
Chest, femoral, grip. What makes it unique is really the scientific methodology. The targets are very specific, and what we'll do is we'll make a vital map of the body, a template.
Go. Throat, heart, leg, arm, lung.
Boom.
In their quest for realism, the actors spent countless hours in training.
Tom Kyer really knows his stuff. So we started working with the knife fighting, and Billy would then decide, oh yeah, I like that, I don't like that.
Okay.
Wham, wham. Stab him there. Stab him there.
Tommy and Benicio practiced over and over again so they could do the moves without doubling. And this was repeated for weeks before we ever took it to the set to film.
It is unbelievably fast, it is vicious, and never before been seen.
With cutting-edge fight sequences, elaborate chase scenes, and a compelling story, The Hunted takes audiences on a unique journey.
If you cross this line, you better be ready to kill me.
The film, it's like an urban, modern-day story of survival.
for an hour and a half, the audience enters into another world. Just the sheer enjoyment of a cat and mouse chase.
It's very important to me that people have an experience they haven't had before. That's what I'm for. I hope that works, and there's a few things to think about.